All right, so good morning, everyone. It's nice to see you. I hope you had a good session and enjoyed the meditation. Were able to calm down a bit and release your thoughts and release your bodies a little bit more, finding some peace and happiness within your own presence. How was it for you? Did you enjoy it? More or less? Yeah? If you are doing this the first time, then very often, or if you're just a beginner with meditation, you just picked up a practice and experimenting a little bit, then you will find very often it's the case that it seems like distractions and thoughts and so forth are getting more as you practice more. Sometimes even like life troubles seem to be increasing a little bit as we practice. That is quite normal. It's not really the case that things are getting more. It's more the case that your awareness, your insight, you can say the luminosity in your mind is increasing a little bit. So you see more clearly the mess that you haven't seen thus far. And that may feel a bit overwhelming. A lot of people think, oh, my goodness, I thought meditation is supposed to calm me down and make me all happy and relaxed all the time, but it's not at all the case. In fact, lots of things are coming up that really are unpleasant. And I become more acutely aware of things that I dislike about myself. You can also say you become more acutely aware that you're quite of an enemy to yourself in the beginning. And because we approach ourselves as from this position of control all the time, like trying to bend ourselves into place, trying to make ourselves all nice and calm and happy and peaceful, actually has the opposite effect. It agitates us more. And before we understand this mechanic, that if you put pressure on yourself and you start controlling yourself and you have a lot of demands on yourself, that you become more tense, more tight, more unhappy. That usually takes a good while before we see that simple mechanic. And if you know about this from the very beginning, then you have a bit of an advantage because you can look out for it and you can identify it when it's there. This is why I spent a lot of time today resting in stage 1 and stage 2, because stage 1 and stage 2 are all about understanding, observing, and then releasing that which makes you agitated, stressed, and tense, and so forth. And the release of what it is that makes you agitated, stressed out, is often a bit hidden. It's not easy to also identify, discover what kind of things you do that make you tense. Often it feels like tension is something that happens to you. It's something that, like suffering, just is brought to you through life. We don't really see suffering as a response to life. We see it more as an intrusion, something that comes into us, attacks us, overwhelms us. So we feel things like, oh, I'm overwhelmed by my thoughts, or I'm overwhelmed by my physical pain, etc. But really, the mechanics are much more subtle. It's not that you're overwhelmed. It's that you're in a very strong state of resistance and unwilling to look at that point of resistance, because that's exactly where the pain is. So you may feel some pain, let's say, a very common thing would be feeling some stress in your belly, like just general feeling of unease and stress. And for a lot of people that bridges over into a feeling of having difficulties to breathe deeply, to have a more full breath. They feel a bit restricted around the belly, the solar plexus, and their hearts and so forth. They don't know what that restriction is. They don't know that they do that restriction. That it's not so much that, your body is very restricted or something like this. Your body has just adopted to adapted to your habit of pulling yourself together and being in control and controlling yourself. And then it creates this new shape which feels restricted over time, of course. And then when you discover that, at first, very natural kind of thing to yourself, so it's the first good step here is that you discover it, that you see it. Oh, I'm holding myself up here. I'm holding this tightly together. And then you discover that you can actually let go, you can actually release it. And then for the first time it may open up a little bit. You get a bit of a glimpse into what it's like to be more open in that area of your body. And it feels actually quite good, but it also triggers a whole lot of fear all of a sudden. It's like, oh no, I can't just surrender there. I can't just give up like this because it feels scary. And so then we need to become a bit more aware of this kind of fear, which is actually the very cause of ourselves pulling ourselves together, of restricting our bodies and minds. The cause of that is actually fear, and it is clearly revealed to you in that moment when you let go and then you experience that fear. That pulls you right back together, doesn't it? So once you have figured that out, then you need to begin working with that. And so you need to sustain your awareness on it, not interfering with the process, not controlling it, but aiming to understand, to see clearly, and in that clearly seeing and understanding, the body naturally opens up. And the mind also follows suit, and the energy follows suit. Just naturally. That's a good thing about it. Once you understand the problem more clearly, that's already kind of the solution. You understand the mechanics of a certain problem, that's it. Then the solution of it is kind of like natural and easygoing. The real problem is that we don't understand our problems. We don't really look through them clearly. And we don't see very often our own part, the role that we play in the creation and the sustaining of that problem. And taking responsibility for that part is a big thing in meditation practice. And just general in spiritual practice. Taking responsibility for that part of you that creates and sustains suffering. It's much more easy to blame society, the government, friends, enemies, for our own misery. Sounds, noises. We can sit here and meditate, and then someone turns on their car out there and lets it run, and then I get all agitated, and what do I do naturally? I focus on the car as the cause of my suffering and the owner of the car, and then I develop some kind of hatred and aversion to that, and I don't even notice what I'm doing, but I'm feeling increasingly more miserable, not because of the guy in his car, but because of what I do inside, and I'm unwilling to look at what I'm doing inside of myself to make myself miserable. That would be familiar to, I think, all of you guys. That's the same thing happens in relationships. You blame your partner for your own pain. It's the easy way out. Not accepting responsibility, not willing to look at the truth because the truth hurts. The truth is, I make suffering, not others. And if you have 10 people in a group and all are making suffering for themselves, it's going to be one hell of a group, literally. It's going to be really unpleasant being a part of that group. And before you know it, you'll be pulled into their tornado of suffering because it's just 10 people that have quite an effect on you. So you will start to suffer just like them. Before you know it, you're part of them. Then it's 11 people who are suffering, and they share their suffering with each other. So understanding that it's actually something that you can take responsibility for is liberating. That's where your power is. Surrendering our power means playing a victim, becoming a victim. I am a victim. Poor me. The world is unfair. People are unfair. Things are unfair. And I am in the middle of that, totally innocent. Like a little innocent lamb. And everyone is there with their axes trying to slaughter me. That is comfortable. Because it's a super nice excuse, and it feels totally outrageous if someone were to point out you're part of the problem, right? And in meditation, we kind of force ourselves, in a way, force in quotes, we force ourselves to look at our part of the problem. And it's a massively big part, actually. It's much bigger than you think it is. Physical pain, your mind plays a much bigger role than you may think. But it doesn't feel that way because we don't know. We don't have the capacity to look that deeply just in the beginning yet. Mind is all over the place, so it's really hard to look clearly. That's why we train, that's why we sit down and patiently observe. On the in-breath, you feel your legs. You get in touch, you connect with your legs. On the out-breath, you release whatever it is that you find during the in-breath. As you breathe in, you may find a whole lot of tension in your right thigh. And you notice that's because you're trying to hold yourself up in some awkward way. And as you breathe out, you release that tension. You notice it comes from the glutes or something like that because you're sitting all a bit like twisted up or something. And so you release that tension. And that feels a bit like collapsing, and so you get scared because you feel like you're collapsing, and so you push yourself up again. But you're pushing yourself up way beyond what is needed. Maybe you've misunderstood the instruction, sit upright, and you didn't hear the part, and relaxed. So maybe you have generally a problem with angst around performance. I must do this perfectly. So you hear the upright part, but suddenly you don't hear the relaxed part. So for you, the upright part, that's the interesting part. It's like, oh yeah, I need to be upright. Here I have a chance of being the good boy. So the more upright I am, the more of a good boy I am. But the whole and relaxed, kind of like you missed it. You didn't even hear it at all. And so all the words that I say in a guided meditation, they have a meaning, they're important. So upright and relaxed, that points to balance. So you want to be upright, yes, at the same time super relaxed. How do you make that happen? You have to figure that out. A lot of meditative work means you have to be willing to sit down there and know nothing, and then figure it out as you go along. You get a simple instruction, upright and relaxed. Then you take that instruction sincerely to heart, and you really try to integrate both of those words, upright and relaxed. And you're training both of those words. You train the upright and you train the relaxed. But you may notice, like when we hear these kind of instruction, we don't take them that seriously. Right? So upright and relaxed, it just kind of brushes over you, barely touching the mind, barely touching the heart. And so you just kind of think you're doing it right. But trust me, you're not. In the beginning, it's really difficult to figure that out. This is a very fine little balance. For myself, I can't say that I figured it out fully. What it means to be upright and fully relaxed. Because the body is full of little tensions everywhere. And releasing them all at once and sustaining that release. I've had glimpses of what that feels like, and it's something completely different from your everyday feeling. Completely different. But am I able to sustain it? No. It's very difficult. Particularly also throughout the day we build tension again. Then as we sit down again, we try to release it again. So you need to do this throughout the day as well. Upright and relaxed. What does that mean for the mind? What is an upright mind? Oh, he's a very upright person. We say that, I think, sometimes, right? He's an upright person. That means he's truthful, sincere, honest. Is your mind honest? And is it relaxed at the same time? Are you able to see your flaws and relax? Are you able to take responsibility and relax at the same time? Not taking responsibility and then blame yourself. Maybe going from blaming other people to blaming yourself. Sitting there going like, I'm such a miserable person, I can't even be upright, I can't even be fully relaxed. What did he mean by balance? I have no idea what he means, and then you start beating yourself up like that. You've just transferred the problem, you've just shifted it from left to right. Now your problem's on the right side isn't solved yet. It just changed position. That's still the same problem. So you see, it goes really deep. It's not just upright in the body and relaxed. It's also upright in the mind and relaxed. Because facing truth, you need to learn to relax with that. Because you will figure out there's a whole lot of stuff that I'm doing wrong. Wrong meaning the result is suffering for myself. Perhaps a better word is unskillful. And skillful would be to doing things the way that are leading to release, to ease, happiness and joy. And that's immediate. As soon as you figure out you're doing it right, the immediate result is happiness, joy, release, openness. Feels so good. Once you figure it out. It's like you turn on a switch and it feels so good. It feels good in the body, it feels good in the mind, it feels good emotionally, it feels all of a sudden it's like, big weight comes off your heart. Like that. So you figure something out there. Now, you need to learn to sustain that. To figure it out again and again and again. Understand its mechanics. Why did I feel so incredibly good just now? What did I do here? Where did I let go? How did I let go? What insight allowed me to let go? And then you work with that. And a long time, nothing will happen, nothing fantastic, spectacular, but you just keep going, and then you build up, kind of like the juice, the substance. And then at some later point again, boom, you get a big drop, a big insight, a big understanding. And you integrate that. What a lot of people do these days, especially in spiritual circles, the thing is you get these flash-like insights, like, whoa, I figured it out. And then you just rest on that. You don't integrate them, you don't embody them. That's an error. This is like a short advice of the divine. You get like some sort of immediate instruction for yourself. And then if you don't integrate and embody that, you've missed the point. Then it becomes a memory, and we get addicted to our memory and reinforce our self-worth with that memory. Oh, I'm somebody that has understood something really deeply. Once I've had this enlightenment experience, and then we post about it, we tell our friends about it, and we identify with it heavily, but it's nothing, just a memory. It has to be alive in your body here and now. The question is, how do I get it to be alive in my body here and now? Just through repetition and through understanding of the mechanics that lead to it. So in stage 1, you do exactly that. You understand what you're doing and how you sustain tension. So you breathe in and you try out various things to release that tension as you breathe out until you got it right. And release is the result. What you want to be aiming for is kind of like a feeling of your body being hollow, just surrounded by like a thin skin of light. Very open, very spacious. Like a soft light balloon. Your body barely feels. There's just a nice field of niceness. It just feels good. All right? That's what you want to aim for. The way you get there, every time in your life when you feel this feeling of relief, that feeling, That's a little bit of a hint. That's how you get there. Can you find that feeling of in your legs, in your belly, in your heart and chest, shoulders and arms, and in your head and your whole body? And then you deepen that make it like a huge totally relaxed. Big relief. Like that. As if you know that everything's okay. You're going to be fine. Everything's good. You are loved. You are accepted. You are appreciated. Now I don't have to anymore. I can just relax. I can let myself fall. I can surrender. That feeling. If you deepen that feeling in your entire body, in each and every cell, you're understanding, you will understand stage 1 more and more. And it will open up its secrets to you. All right, guys. Yeah. Thank you very much for coming today. It was nice to have you.